Hey guys, welcome to another MapleStory 2 video, and today we're going to be covering over the Berserker guide. So since Pension is not in a guild, I can't really go into the guild hall, but there's another training dummy I can go to. These guys. We're in the Hall of Heroes right now, which is where you are fighting the Chaos Raids, but yeah, I'm just going to be using these two guys just to show you guys my skills, or the skills of a Berserker. Now, bear in mind, my Berserker is not very strong, because I actually haven't played him in a while. But even with that being said, it's just I'm only going to be here to show you guys the skills and how you want to spec into the class, just like the Assassin and the Runeblader. So let's not waste any more time and let's get started. Covering over the dash skill and your Spirit Regeneration skill, Dark Aura is very similar to Runeblader's Regeneration skill. It's a passive regeneration ability, however, unlike Runeblader's, Dark Aura can actually get even stronger, in which every time you're in combat for up to 10 seconds, you can restore up to 20 Spirit. Now that seems pretty overpowered because it means it only takes you 5 seconds to regenerate your Spirit all the way, but there's a good reason why you need so much Spirit, and we're going to get into it right now. As for your dash skill, it's called Cross Slash, in which you essentially dash forward a little bit. I believe it's only like 4 meters, 4.5. The same distance as Assassin, but the difference is unlike Assassin, you actually slash through, and you deal damage on the way. It's a bit slower, not as fast as Assassin, but it's like about the same distance and it has the same stamina cost. There it is. There's a brief cooldown, a brief delay in between dashing. Still though, it could be worse. Alright, next let's get into the main basic attacking. This is Raging Slash. So Berserker has quite a few abilities that you can actually hold down to deal damage. For Dark Slash, or was it Raging Slash, you just slash right in front of you like this, and it doesn't drain any spirit. However, what you could do with this skill is if you hold down an arrow key, you'll actually start moving forward. Like this. So there we go. It's got quite a good coverage, so as you can see just by looking at the skill, there's a very good frontal, kind of like a cardioid shape to it, almost. It's like that. That's how much it will cover. I don't think it hits too much behind you. No, it doesn't, because I'm attacking behind me, nothing's really happening, so it has actually not really a cardioid shape, more of like a, kind of like a half moon shape, like that. Right, so Deathspin is kind of a similar skill to Raging Slash, only it spins all around you. So you spin, and it's the same properties where you can move around. The moving is a bit more fluid. It's not like kind of like clunky like Raging Slash where you just like step forward just a tiny bit. For Deathspin, you just like spin kind of like a Beyblade. That's what coined the term spin to win in MS2. Consistently does damage, and but it does drain spirit. As you can see over here, Dark Aura is currently being generated while you're in combat. The buff lasts for 6 seconds and it refreshes every time, every second you dish out damage, up to 10 stacks. And currently you're restoring about 20 spirit per second. Okay. So, I'm going to go into this ability next. This is Groundbreaker. Groundbreaker just slams your sword into the ground for a lot of damage. It eats up quite a bit of spirit, 40 spirit. That's why you need a lot of spirit regeneration. But the damage increases per stack every time for Dark Aura. So as you can see right here, we're at 5 stacks. It's doing about 27. I'm going to build up a little bit more stacks. I was trying to do 30s, 33s, and then at 10 stacks it does a good 32 to 37. Or not 37, but does quite a bit of damage. Now if we were to go out of Dark Aura, and then use it again, it's significantly weaker. So Groundbreaker is really good in terms of building up your overall damage, and it has quite a bit of burst damage. About at level 10 it does 353% with an extra 16% per stack, so this attack can do up to 500% damage, which is awesome. Now what a lot of people like to do is they like to stack it up, stack up their Dark Auras by using a different skill, like either Deathspin or Void Slash, which I'll get to in just a little bit. And then once they load up a decent amount of stacks, then they drive their Groundbreaker into the ground. Now Groundbreaker itself does generate Dark Aura stacks, but the reason why it's not efficient is because it drains up a lot of spirit. And your spirit regeneration doesn't get that high until you reach around like 8 or 9 or 10 stacks in Dark Aura. And then now you can spam it relatively frequently, not too much. So, but it does quite a bit of damage. It's just a little slow, as you can see. It takes roughly about like half a second to 0.75. Still, really strong skill. Okay, now let's go into Dark Might. So Dark Might is a skill that increases your magic and physical attack by a large amount, and it also restores your spirit even further. However, you have to be at max Dark Aura stacks to use this, and it consumes the Dark Aura stacks. Here it is, let me show you. So now you have even more damage. Gives you this really cool, like, black glowing effect. Doesn't last for too long, it only lasts for about 10 seconds, but it's quite a big boost, and it does have a slightly long cooldown. A lot of people like to spec into Dark Might just because percent attack, physical attack also attack speed as well. So if I were to show you maybe, I'm going to show you my basic attack speed with, say, just my regular attacks. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And if I pop out Dark Might, it's even faster. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So as you can see, Dark Might is probably one of the most powerful self buffs in the game, although it does require you to consume all of your spirit, or not spirit, your Dark Aura, and it does last quite a long time. Let's go into this tree right now. Void Slash is a similar ability to Death Slash, or Raging Slash and Deathspin, excuse me, in which what you do is when you first cast a skill, you charge up and you dash forward. Whoops, sorry. Charge up and you dash forward. Why is this not working? Oh, did they change it? No, they didn't change it. Okay. Alright, sorry about that. So when you use Void Slash, if you want to use it in place, you just hold down the skill and you start like slashing in front of you. Has about a similar area of effect as Deathspin. The only difference is that this one, you stay perfectly in place. You can't move. Now, if I remember correctly, while this skill is active, you actually maintain a perfect stance, which means you can't be pushed back by attacks unless the attack knocks you back. Just a few more numbers over here. Now, if you want to, Void Slash can dash forward. So when you hold the skill down, you press a arrow key while you're using it. It'll push you forward. So kind of like that. Yep, pretty good. The first slash consumes a lot of spirit. However, after that, it turns into kind of like a channeling type ability in which you continue to stand in place and attack, kind of like this. It does significantly more damage than either Deathspin or Raging Slash. So if I show you Raging Slash, it's only about, oh no, that's just a, yeah, Raging Slash, Raging Slash, it does about 2 to 3k. Deathspin does roughly about like 3-ish to sometimes 4, sometimes, 3.5. But then Void Slash does way more damage, like 4 to 5, which is really good. So Void Slash has a lot more damage, although it's a bit more on the clunky side, because as I said before, Void Slash roots you in place, which means you can't really move around. So if the boss stands still, then Void Slash is really good, but if the boss moves around a lot, then Void Slash is not that great. Okay, Dark Breaker has kind of a similar property to Groundbreaker, but like Dark Might, both Dark Might and Dark Breaker require you to be at full spirit to use effectively, or to use at all even. So this is Groundbreaker, it's just kind of like a smash on the ground, and I'll show you Dark Breaker in just a sec. So what Dark Breaker does is kind of like Groundbreaker, it smashes the ground for a lot of damage. It does dark damage though, but then it leaves an area that does a lot more damage. So this is Groundbreaker, and this is Dark Breaker. And Dark Breaker leaves this little or like whirlpool of darkness and just does more damage over time. It's really good for overall DPS, but it does consume your stacks just like Dark Might, and you have to be at max stacks to use it. Here we have Warrior's Instinct is a passive component, and it increases your physical resistance and your piercing by 6.4. This is a very powerful buff because piercing is one of the most powerful stats in the game, and with Warrior's Instinct, right? Yeah, Warrior's Instinct, you gain a lot of passive piercing, so Berserkers can very easily reach... Ah, crap, I bit my lip. Ow. Oh, that hurt. That's like the third time I bit the inside of my mouth again. Oh, shoot. Okay, where was I? Warrior's Instinct, it can help Berserkers each very easily reach over 20%. So, it's really good. And the soft cap for piercing is 30%, which means Warrior Instinct will help you get there a little bit more easily. You always underestimate how much biting force you have in your teeth until you actually like bite your tongue or your lip. Okay, sorry about that. Next skill is Bloodlust. It is a thrust forward attack. It's a thrust attack that always critically strikes, and it heals you for a percentage of your maximum HP. Let me show you what it looks like. So you do damage, and then it reaps HP out. It doesn't actually heal you based on the damage you deal, it only heals you based on your maximum HP. A fully maxed out Bloodlust heals you for almost about half of your HP, which is quite a bit, considering it's an ability that it's a self-sustained ability. It has a cooldown of 8 seconds, so it's not bad. It's a pretty reliable sustaining ability, but nowhere near as effective as like a priest. Actually, I'm gonna show you guys one more time. So it looks like. Now, it damages twice, so I think it stabs in and then it pulls out. Yeah, so 210% in once, and then 210% out. But only the first attack critically hits. Okay. Adrenaline Rush increases your Dark Aura stacks, or the power of your Dark Aura, the lower your HP is. So you gain more Spirit Regeneration, the lower your health is. I can't get there. Actually, no, I can't. What am I talking about? Go ahead and activate this skill. Okay. I can't really get my health low in this case, but I'll show you guys how to do it here. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what happens with my Spirit Regeneration once it drops under a certain amount of HP. It's going to take a while. There it is, there's Adrenaline Rush, it's activating. We're right now at 2 spirit per second, then it goes up to... Is it going to go up anymore? Okay, now we're at like Super Adrenaline Rush. There you go. So you get more spirit regeneration the lower your HP is, which is really good, considering that a lot of Berserker's abilities, they drain a lot of spirit. So having Adrenaline Rush plus Dark Aura increases your spirit quite a bit. Not to mention you also get more spirit regeneration from Dark Might. Anyways, let's go back on track. Blood Price is a buff attack that increases your damage by a solid 6%, but it causes you to lose a percentage of your HP per hit. Although it does not let you go below 25% HP, which is when your screen starts flashing red. It's mostly just to make sure that you don't kill yourself. Now, I don't know if it continues increasing your damage even after your HP drops. I'm assuming it does. But yeah, it's kind of a risk and reward ability. The lower, it drains your own HP in exchange for doing more damage, and that synergizes well with the Adrenaline Rush because you get more spirit regeneration if your HP is low. This is in human endurance. The way it works is that the lower your HP goes, you gain more physical and magic durability. So this tree here in particular is focused on low HP Berserkers, although it might be kind of counterintuitive. You might be thinking why would you want an ability that heals you when the rest of the abilities in that tree reward you for being lower HP? And obviously, if you need to heal yourself when you're incoming, preparing for a really hard attack, then you use Bloodlust right away. After the attack goes through, then you still have enough HP to continue doing your attacks while getting the bonuses from these buffs. Okay, Greatsword Mastery is your master skill, increases your weapon's attack. We have Intimidation, which is a kind of a threatening roar type attack. Where is it? Do I have it on my thing? No, I do not. Oh, I don't even have it leveled. Okay, let's go ahead and take those out and put that here. So the way Intimidation works, it's got a 16-second cooldown. It's not that long. Let's go ahead and use it. It's kind of a shout, and it reduces the attack of that target by 12% and jump power movement speed as well. So it's a breaker, it's a break type ability, and it's also a crippling ability. However, the more stacks you have, the more powerful the Intimidation will be. So I'm going to go ahead and get that going. Alright, we're at 10 stacks. Now, as you can see, the Intimidation improved thing came up. For some reason it doesn't show a Dark Might Dark Breaker, but the only reason why is because Intimidation can be used no matter what your Spirit or your Dark Aura stacks are. But when it's empowered, you'll see these little circles going around. Well, not circles, but you see kind of strings of energy circling the hexagon. Let me show you. And it's even wider, I think, in a radius. So now it decreases attack by only 12%. Wait a second, what the hell? What's the difference here? Oh, it's a stun. Okay, I was for a second, what's going on? It's shit. Okay, so instead of slowing the target, it stuns them instead. I was wondering for a second there what was going on, but I forget that training dummies are immune to crowd control. Not the most useful Dark Aura skill out there. Fortunately, this skill does not actually consume the Dark Aura stacks, but it's dependent on the attack or this Dark Aura stacks being quite high. But it's not necessarily the most important skill. Some people will only just spec enough points to make sure that it can actually just get the other two. These next two skills are really, really useful though. Let me show you one sec. Gonna get some extra points. So you need level 4 Intimidation, then you gotta go into Deep Wounds. So Deep Wounds, you have a chance to inflict a bonus damage dot every time you hit a critical strike. So obviously, as you know, the skill Bloodlust hits a critical strike every single time. Let me show what it looks like. So it does more damage. It basically causes the target to bleed a certain amount of damage every second. Let me show you. So when you critically strike, it hits them with this and they start taking dot damage. I don't think people max this out too much because even though you do critically strike sometimes when you're just using your regular attacks, there's a crit strike over there and keeps bleeding them. The damage is not that significant versus if you were to just spec into full-on Void Slash and Groundbreaker for a ton more burst damage. Although a lot of Berserkers do like to go this build because it adds a lot more lasting, consistent DPS. Let's go into Earthquake. It's very cool. It's another terrain-based damage attack, kind of like Darkbreaker. And the way Earthquake works is that you create kind of a cross shape of damage. And then enemies that are inside it will be stunned and then they will continuously take damage. So I do believe it's a very good skill for just overall crowd control, not so much for boss damage. Show what it looks like. Looks kind of like that. So you create a plus sign and it just pulses with damage. Now this one's a very powerful damaging attack. It does have a very long cooldown though, but usually you would see this attack being used against very immobile targets. In the Fire Dragon's second phase, a lot of Berserkers like to place this skill. Not so much in more mobile bosses let's say Varakint or Kandura, but still very useful skill. And yeah, so in terms of skill builds, there are usually two universal builds that Berserkers like to go for. First one is the Deathspin Groundbreaker combo, and the second one is Void Slash. Reason being, of course, as you know, Void Slash is much better for DPS, but Groundbreaker is much better for overall sustained damage. So I do believe the build that people go is consistent from left to right, or from on the right side, but on the left side it changes here and there. So even if you're not going for the Void Slash build, most of the time people do spec into Warrior's Instinct. It's just more of a case of if you want to max out this section or if you want to max out this section. If you want to go for the Groundbreaker build, you just put 1 point in Dark Might and then just max out. Make sure you have Groundbreaker maxed out. And if you want to go into the Void Slash build, you just gotta not put points into those at all. You can still put 1 point into Dark Might because you only need level 6 Groundbreaker, and then you just max out your Void Slash, you max out Darkbreaker. So you don't need Deathspin at all. Just 3 points of Groundbreaker. Or if you don't want to even do this at all, you don't have to. You just put the rest of the points into Darkbreaker. I don't have any of the SP trophies here, so if I were to show you guys. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in another video. If I take that off and show you skill points, you can get SP from doing certain trophies, so you'll have a bit more than I do. But this is what people like to go for as well. To my knowledge, if you have the Ancient Rune Greatsword, Void Slash is better because it actually works more for Void Slash. But if you have a Murpaggoth Warrior weapon, or a MSL Onyx, then you want to go for Groundbreaker. But after talking to a lot of my Berserker friends, because I have quite a few, they all say that Void Slash is slightly better if you're going for just like straight up DPS, if the target does not move. If the target moves a lot, then you might have to go into Groundbreaker. But once again, I'm not quite sure. As for stats, Berserker is very similar to Runeblader. You want to stack Piercing, Physical Piercing, and boss damage, and attack speed is rare. Attack speed if you do go for the Void Slash build. But for the most part, just flat Piercing, Physical Piercing, and boss damage, as well as melee damage. Melee damage works too. Berserker is one of the more simple classes to build just because they're very straightforward, and they're very generous with how much stats they give you, and a very top tier class. I would consider them one of the best classes in the game. As for how you want to build it, like I said, entirely up to you. I like to personally go for more Groundbreaker, but I make sure I get Warrior's Instinct maxed out and Bloodlust maxed out. These two skills you definitely want maxed out. And then the others you can play with it as you go along. Alright, anyways, that's gonna be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna go ahead and see if my mouth is bleeding. Okay, yeah, but that hurts. I'll see you guys again in the next video. Take care.